It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. I have a really cool company that we're going to chat with today, founded by three what I would consider young individuals, but I don't know how young anybody is anymore. I use myself as the balancing act, and so I'll just call people young. But three dynamic, interesting, ambitious, smart individuals. Their company is called Background Noise. I have two of the founders joining me here today. Alexis Toney, who's the Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer, and Grace, you're going to say your last name correctly for me,
Kwak.
Who covers marketing and analytics. Grace, Alexis, thank you for joining me here today on Her Success Story.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure.
So I always like to start at the beginning. How did Background Noise get started? What was the impetus? How did this, come together with three partners?
For sure. I can jump in and start. So I actually started Background Noise by myself in 2019. And it was actually kind of like the perfect storm. I started it just because, one, I just realized and I know that I could do things a lot better than a lot of other people. And I just felt like the bar was really low in the industry. And then two, I just wanted some extra money on the side. So that's when I started Background
So
Noise.
it started as a side hustle, knowing that you could do things smart.
That's how it started. And then right after I started it, the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, I lost my full-time job. And so by the grace of God, I had started Background Noise. And so Background Noise is what was helping me get through the pandemic. And oddly enough, because of the pandemic, we started losing clients, but I just knew that I was sitting on something that was really, really good. And so throughout the pandemic, I just used that as time to just start building things. Like I took all of my experience that I had at different agencies when I worked on brand side, and every worksheet that I built in, every tool that I was using, I was like, all right, let's start building this up for Background Noise, because I had a feeling that it would be useful. And then fast forward to, I'd say probably Grace, the end of 2021, or it was 2022. It was like
2022, yeah.
Yep, it was like November 2022. I had actually taken a break with Background Noise. I had some personal things going on, and I just couldn't keep up with it at the time. And in 2022, I got a text message from Anar, who is our other partner who isn't here. Her, Grace, and I had a group chat, and we would talk, every once in a while, but not too frequently. But Anar sent a message to the group chat, and she was like, I want to quit where I'm at full time, and I want to start something of my own. And I was just like, well, I already have something. Let's just take Background Noise and just build it up. And that's literally what we did. We took Background Noise and grew it into what it is now.
So let me ask you, how did the three of you know each other? So let's go back there a little bit. So you had this group chat going. Alexis, you started this as a side hustle. And I'm going to say, for those people who don't know, Slater Success was a side hustle. I was building this as I was trying to get myself out of my printing career. I was like, I'm not dying a printer. There's got to be more for me. Right?
Yep.
And let me start this. And before I started this, because I was a printer, I printed 3 business cards for 3 different companies. And I said, one of these companies is my future. I'm just not sure which one yet.
I say this all the time, but it's like you got to build the plane and fly it at the same time.
Yeah.
But also, I think Tabitha Brown honestly just touched on this too for entrepreneurs. Like, keep that full-time job so you have money coming in while you're trying to build something that you're passionate about. That's probably one of my main mantras is I wouldn't recommend you quit your job at all. I would recommend you find a way to hustle and do both things so that you can live the life that you want to live and be comfortable, but also build something that you're passionate about.
It's interesting because, we worked together such a long time ago. And I was talking to Anar about this recently, how the phrase, you meet people for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yeah.
And at that time when we were working together, I think we all thought it was a season. We were all working together and hustling in New York. But now we're this is a lifetime. We will work together in some capacity for the rest of our lives, just the way that we work together. I think, even if it's not BGN in the future, the 3 of us will always be intertwined working together.
For sure.
It brings me back because it's a friend, a colleague I saw this past summer we did coach training together 18 plus years ago. And since then, we've collaborated on clients together. We've referred each other clients together. He no longer lives in New York. When I'm in Florida, I always make sure to see him. When he's in New York, we make sure to see each other. We've brought our husbands together. It just, I don't know what's next for us, but there's always something. And the value of keeping in touch and keeping that relationship going has been so important.
Yeah. And I think to the point of relationships, like obviously that helped me, Grayson, and Nar build what we have today and be like family at this point. But I would say relationships are also one of the key building points for background noise. Like our initial clients, even when I started background noise by myself, every client that I had was from a referral from somebody. And then when we came along and we started building background noise together, it was very similar. Like all of our clients, the pretty much almost, I would say like 90% of people, 95% of people that we worked with have been somebody that we worked with in the past, or if they've been in a relationship. So relationships are super important, especially when trying to build your own thing.
And you guys have backgrounds working with some of the biggest brands around.
Yeah.
We do. And I think we've been really fortunate that one of our biggest first clients was Sacred, Beyonce's first own brand. And the reason that came about is because Lex already had maintained a great relationship with the head of digital. And so she saw we started an agency and she reached out. It wasn't a cold outreach from us. We got that foot in because Lex had maintained that relationship. And that's how a lot of the clients have really come to us.
It's wild. I've gotten clients over the years in the craziest of ways. And, right, dot, dot, dot. And they come about from just keeping up these relationships. And, I just said to somebody recently, I said, that's the golden nugget of success. It's
Yeah.
not all the money you invoice, you bill, the team, teams are fabulous and important, et cetera, et cetera. It's the true people we keep in touch with over time.
And I'll say this and then we can move on, but it's so funny because I used to kind of reject the whole mantra where people used to say it's not about what you know, it's who you know. And I used to be
Yep.
like, no, I'm smart. I don't need to know anybody. I'm good. But as we've been building this business and like I'm an entrepreneur in other lanes as well, it just I was an idiot because it is actually about who you know, because when you are building something that's so precious to you, you want to work with people that you trust, that you think will care about what you're building the same way that you do. So it is absolutely about like who you know and building those relationships, and honestly what you know really comes at the bottom of the list.
What has been an asset? And I'm going to be completely transparent here. There's so many marketing companies out there in this day and age. And I have my views on this because believe me, when I was a printer, there were so many printers. Everybody was a printer. Now everybody is doing, what I'm doing. But let's call a spade a spade. In the marketing space, it's a busy space. How do you keep your momentum going and not get intimidated? Because so often I hear in younger stage companies, they're like, oh, can we make it? There's so many big guys here. They're big, there's right. What has kept your momentum going in building background noise in such a crowded space as marketing and branding?
Definitely not easy. We were talking about this a lot this
Okay,
week.
so listeners, I'm going to tell you, they had no prep on that. There is no email that went out to them with this question at all.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and maybe this is misguided, but Lex and I, we know that we're smart. We know that we do really good work. The thing that we always say is you just need to get us into the room with the client and we'll win the business. And I think that has been something that has maybe happened to us, maybe been a result of our hard work since we were young. When we worked at our old agency together, it was the three of us, we pitched a business that was 100 million, I think maybe like 150 million, against these huge massive agencies, and we won that business. And that to us was I would say a turning point where we knew that we could do this, and that kind of planted the seeds of background noise too, where we would talk at 10, 11 p.m. at the old agency and be like, if we did this on our own, what would it look like? And I think that early success has really been like the motivation to continue. But also, in the current climate, we're also seeing a lot of brands start to pull back from agencies, whether they're taking it in-house or they're finding like really cheap agencies to do the work. I think that's one thing that's been challenging is we are not the cheapest agency. We are not a growth hacking agency. Like we want to root everything in strategy. And that's also been a challenge for us is like, can we produce the level of work that we feel confident in and we want to put forward at the cost that a brand is willing to pay? So, I think we're really confident in the work, but it's been challenging, just to put something out there without feeling like we're undercutting ourselves at the same time.
And I kind of just want to brag on Arnara and Grace, but I think everything that Grace said, plus we are not intimidated by anything. Like I can confidently say, like, yeah, we are a lot smaller, but like going up these, when we got Sacred, we had to pitch against big agencies as well. But going back to Grace's point, I think we're all just very confident and like we know what we know, and we are also like we don't know what we don't know, but we're super curious and just I work with two really like strong women, and I think that type of we fostered that type of environment where we could care less, we are not scared at all. So that is also what keeps the momentum going, because it's like, all right, then what next?
What have you done as far as building out team and back end? How have you developed that has worked for you scaling your own company? Because I think that's one of the questions that comes up in early growth for our listeners is, well, when do we hire? What do we do? And when you have three partners, you don't need to hire as quickly.
Yeah, we actually learned that lesson early on. We learned that lesson a couple of years ago. We were growing pretty quickly. And so we were like, we need to get bodies in the door, but we also wanted to make sure that we were doing things right as a company. Like that's always been at our ethos. Like, are we doing things the right way? That's really true to humanity and to people. And so when we hired, we were like, we need to offer health insurance. We need to offer a 401k. And that's like absurd that a company with less than 5 people would provide health insurance. I know it's like a lot of companies outside just use contractors. So we did in our hearts the right thing. And then, of course, when a client cut the scope, we needed to lay someone off, there were major financial ramifications to that. So I think we did learn our lesson that, like, yes, we still want to grow and we want to grow to a really big size, but there are, I guess, like a lot more things that we need to do internally until we feel confident that we're really financially there to expand in the way that we want to. So that was like an unfortunate lesson, but I'm still glad we did it. I'm still glad we hired someone and provided those benefits early on as such a small company. And we're still in touch with that former employee. Like she's great and like reaches out to us a lot. But I think right
Because
now,
relationships are important on all
exactly.
sides. On
Yes.
all sides. It's not just the client and the build, it's with the people who are supporting you. It's with so many layers. It's where you don't know where somebody will fit in, but you still find value. But if like, I know if I like somebody, it's worth putting energy into the relationship. I don't know where it's going to land up. I was getting to know somebody earlier today and in a similar space than me. I don't know if there's any collaborate. I have no idea, but it was like we both like had to jump to the next call. Like, oh my God, we have to leave. We have to jump to the next call. And there was still so much more. We got to do this again. But there's no reason, like, here's the business reason we should. That will come if you
Mhm.
allow relationships to develop and stay in touch.
Yeah. And the model that we've kind of moved to right now, and I don't think this is the permanent model, is we've been partnering a lot with different agencies that really have the services we lack or do things better than we do in certain realms. So, like, for example, like, yes, we could go out and find a contractor that could build a website or a contractor that could do SEO, but we know that that's not necessarily our expertise. So we'd rather partner with an agency that is an expert and really go in with the best strategy possible for the client. So right now, that's kind of how we've been navigating, growth. But the far kind of end goal is really to expand our agency, of course.
I always like to ask this. What has surprised you as leaders? so often I could give you a laundry list, like, okay, where do you want me to start? When we think about, I love the fact that background noise started as a side hustle. I love the collaboration that has come from the three of you truly staying in touch together. What has surprised you as leaders in this process?
To be honest, I say this, and then like as a person who is like an entrepreneur in other lanes, it like this, but it was very surprising for us. And I will say that I think one of the biggest surprises was the fact that like 2024 last year, we had a phenomenal year. Like we did amazing. We made more money than I've ever seen in my life. And
Woohoo, I have to say.
yeah, I was proud. My family was proud. Everybody was,
Yep.
we were Grace's partner. Everybody was proud. We were all great. And you could not tell me, I don't think you could have told me, Grace or Anar, that 2025 wasn't going to be just as better or even greater. Like, we just knew that, like, this is how much we made last year. We're going to make this much this year. And 2025 has been the pits. It has been really challenging and difficult just because of, there are ebbs and flows when you run a business, and there are ebbs and flows just overall in the economy, which then translate and trickle down to what we do. So there are a lot of things that are out of our control. And I think that's a big thing too, is like, there's just things that are out of our control that we can't do anything about. And I think that was probably one of the biggest surprises, is just knowing how great we did last year and then to get to this year and just feel like we are hustling all over again, even harder than we hustled when we were trying to get everything off the ground.
Yeah, I keep trying to be like, progress is not linear. It's okay that progress is not linear, but we just had a situation in the summer where we put in probably like 100 hours for a specific client, and then they pulled the strings at the last second. And we got paid like a very small amount for the work that we had done up until that point, but it was like a fraction of what we should have been paid for. So there's been a lot of moments like that this year. I think with a lot of the economic uncertainty, people are just very nervous, which we totally get. We've had a lot of downs this year, and I think that has been very mentally challenging.
First of all, I appreciate both of you showing up with complete transparency and honesty on because I think it's helpful, and it's so easy to always paint the rosy picture versus the transparent picture of business is a journey. It is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And you hit some highs, and we've all hit some lows. We've all hit some lows. I would love to see some trajectory that goes, oh, we shot straight up. No stopping, no detours, no plateaus. It's like, really? Were you dreaming? Were
Mhm.
you not paying attention? Because trust me, something happened there. Right. And I think what we learn from these things are one of the most important lessons of, as you kind of decompose, what can we be doing? What has worked? What has not worked? What can we rinse and repeat is so important. And it doesn't matter if your business is 1 years old, 5 years old, 25 years old, 50 years old. It doesn't matter. It's history, and there's knowledge, and learning and leaning into what has worked before, where is the marketplace today, and how do we apply what worked to the marketplace is an ever-going puzzle. And learning, and the greatest entrepreneurs lean into it and grow in the long run.
Yeah, we definitely learned a lot from that experience. Like, we actually, from the example that I gave, we actually had a relationship breakdown also during that experience as well. And we needed to have a postmortem about everything and kind of where the business was. And that kind of, I think, was a culmination of everything that has happened this year. But we came out of it much stronger. And I think that a lot of those conversations needed to happen because we've all been feeling the weight of the business this year compared to last year.
Yeah. I'll ask, what is one tip you would share forward in building a company, of some of the things that we all learn, and it's different for each of us, and even within partnership we learn different things. What is something you each have learned that you would pass forward as a tip for other business leaders who are listening in?
For me, I would say it is really important to make sure you celebrate the small wins. It's really easy to get caught up on just like the big picture all the time and what's next and just like trying to figure out your next step in your trajectory or whatever, but really taking the time to sit back and celebrate those small wins. Like it might not be winning a pitch. It might just be you had a really good meeting and the client understood what you were saying. Like just taking the time to pat yourself on the back, especially right now, like we say, when it's really murky outside, when you don't know left from right, up from down, just taking the time to really yeah, pat yourself on the back and celebrate yourself and making sure that you are enjoying the journey just as
Yeah.
much, because that's super important as well.
I love that one. I love that one. Grace, what about you?
I would say just try to find a community if you can. Like, we are so fortunate that the three of us are in this together. We're not doing this alone. We can, talk through kind of crazy ideas with each other, talk through our emotional highs and lows with each other. And I can't even imagine doing this alone without a support system of either, like-minded women or, a different co-founder from a different company that can just like help you navigate things. Like, that has been something that has been really the thing that I think that kept us going, because when someone's like, this is really rough, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, like, we have those conversations that are really honest. And yeah, that I would say, like, if possible, find a co-founder or build that community.
Or if it's not a co-founder, I was doing background noise by myself and I would spiral all the time because it was like I don't have anybody to run ideas across. Like, am I doing the right thing? Because this is all I've done, but like maybe it's something that I don't know. And I think I didn't have Grace and Anar at the time, but one of my best friends was constantly around. So he wasn't involved in the business. He has no idea how to run media, but just having somebody that you can talk to and you don't keep everything in your head and spiral in your head is very, very important because it can get very lonely.
Yeah, it is so true. It is lonely at the top. It is lonely at the top. And to build a community, to have a community to bandy ideas off of, but also to talk about those highs and lows. Because I'll always say, like 1,000 times a day, better out than in. When we fester it within us, it eats us alive and we can't take action. We can't see clarity. We can't see new ideas, especially in that swirl. And I love, Alexis, when you're talking about celebrate the little things. I have given so many of my clients a book to write every day, their successes. We start every call that I do with every person with starting and sharing a success. And like, well, I don't have anything big. I was like, I don't care. Find something, dig deep. Find something every day that you're proud of yourself for, something that went right, because that builds so much momentum to build forward.
Absolutely. Something me and my
Any thoughts, last thoughts, comments?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This was great.
Thank you, Alexis and Grace. I will say, listeners, this is what I say when we get to this point of the show. Take a deep breath in. It really does help. And think about one thing that resonated with you in our conversation. Our conversation touched many, many different things. Find one thing that resonated with you. Make a note of it somewhere. I don't care if it's electronic note, if it's a written note. No judgment, don't care. Just make a note of it somewhere. And at some point today, make a decision on one action you're going to take based on that aha or a takeaway. If you join us every week at Her Success Story, and every week you just identify one action to take forward, you will stay in momentum. And in this momentum, there is growth. So thank you both for joining me here today on Her Success Story.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
It was fun. It was fun. And listeners, hit subscribe, share this forward for any person that you think that would learn or be beneficial to listen to the interview with Alexis and Grace. Thanks for joining me here today. See you next time.